It's time for the first double game week of the year as the Championship takes a back seat. Welcome to the Football Breakdown's Fantasy EFL Preview Show. I'm Matthew South.
And I'm Ian Cooper.
Yes, welcome everyone. It's game week 3. It's a double game week for League 1 and League 2, so that's where our focus is going to be this week. Are you excited for the first double game week, Ian?
Yeah, I am actually. A lot of home and then away, so it's hard to get a strategy of sort of points-wise, especially with the teams. There's no one really banking to get double aways at this stage of the season. So yeah, pretty level playing field, I'd say, for League 1 and League 2.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that its Championship has basically only been involved for 1 week of the first 3 of the season. Obviously, there were no games week 1, and I don't think anyone's looking at any Championship players for game week 3 as well, given they only played once. So I'm kind of excited to get back onto the Championship in the weeks to come. But for now, it's nice to kind of give the attention to the lower leagues and hoping that we can, maybe find some players who are outside of the normal templates that we're seeing online, and maybe get a few differential picks, a few good point returns. Should we have a quick look back to last week though before we get into this one? How did you get on?
I managed to get 62 points, so pretty happy with that. Better comeback than the first week. I had my big hitters really were Josh Keeley in goal. Managed to get the clean sheet with 7 points. Didn't mean to put him as captain, but we'll take that. So got 14 points for him. Annoyingly, my captain that I wanted to have, David Keeler Dunn, got 12 points. So missed out on an extra 12 points there, but I'll make sure to not make that mistake again. Michael Cheek, of course, got off to a flyer, scored 1 goal. I believe he created 2 key passes as well. So 9 points there, really nice. And then lastly, my 0.1 pick of Connor Coventry got me 9 points, 1 assist, 2 interceptions. Really good start from him. So really happy to get on him early. How about you, Matt?
Yeah, I had 65 points for the week. So yeah, another above average week, which was good. Also had Keeley in goal. Yeah, it was pretty solid point scores all around, to be fair for me. Good Conway, Cavia, Pinnock, 7, 9, 9, 8 point returns. Pinnock being my sub point 1. He had 4. No, sorry, he had 3 interceptions and a shot on target. He didn't have the key passes last week, but the interceptions played out exactly how I kind of predicted with Barnett's width. So I was at least happy to land that. And then up front is kind of where I was lacking. Humphreys 3 points, Fatawu 4 points, and my captain to make it 8 points. Humphreys again took quite a few shots, just couldn't find a way through. And similarly, Fatawu was involved, but got hooked before the goals came for Leicester. It was interesting there, like El Canus on corners. If he just stay there past the end of the transfer window, he could be a big player in fantasy for Leicester. And Ayew looks to be trying to take all the free kicks as well. So certainly going forward, learned some lessons there about that Leicester team. Stockport's away win was good for me, and Grimsby's 3-3 draw with Harrogate went completely against what I thought would happen, with Grimsby conceding 3 goals and looking terrible at the back, but at least they got the 5 points for the draw. So not complaining too much there. Into the Football Breakdown League then, and overall I'm down in 10th place there. Ian, you're down in 16th, so we're struggling a bit at the moment. For game week 2 then, EFL Fantasy Josh, brilliant 81 points. He had Keeler Dunn as captain. It's a very, very solid team elsewhere. Piergiani, Dimitriou hitting double figures as well. He was the only one to hit the 80s in the league. There were a few 79s, 78s, 77s. Moulin Rouge had Vestergaard as captain, 22-point return thanks to that goal he scored. So that was a cool pick. 3rd highest score for the game week. In 5th highest for the game week as well was our Football Breakdown team, which again was made up by the highest selected percentage players. It's kind of like a bit frustrating to get beaten by that. I mean, if you just played popularity picks, you would have beaten our scores and scored really well on 75 points. So I think the aim for this week is to go and beat that one. So we are ready for game week 3. and there's going to be no focus on the championship this week. As we said, they're only playing once. It kind of seems a bit redundant. There's no one's really picking championship players for when everyone else is playing twice. So we're gonna move straight into League One, and I have the League One goalkeeper. So I would take us away, and the keeper I've landed on here is George Wickens for Lincoln City. I think there's actually quite a few interesting goalkeeper picks. Goodman's certainly up there. We've been a big fan of Keeley already on the podcast, but I think looking at the data, there's definitely a good shout for Wickens here. He's quite low selected. They, in terms of their opponents, like Lincoln as well, rank pretty well in terms of their opponents' attacking threat slash like shot output in term over the double game week, as they are facing Plymouth Argyle and Northampton. The Argyle game is at home for Lincoln, and in Argyle's last away game, they only managed 3 shots against Bolton, didn't score. So you're kind of thinking a Lincoln side who gets a clean sheet on opening day at home against Reading could be in line for another one there. Northampton, meanwhile, is the away game, but their home game last weekend to Bradford saw them have just 4 shots as well. So again, we're looking at two teams who are just really failing to get shots away at their respective grounds they're going to be playing. Yeah, like I said, Wickens already has a clean sheet. He's made 2 saves in both games as well. So if we can just get that extra save in, we could be on for a bonus point too. Adam Jackson, I think, is going to be missing. He was sent off last week. I'm not sure on if the ban's 1 or 3 games. I think with it being one of those, violent conduct fouls, I don't know if it was, but it was a boot to the chest. It's usually a 3-game ban, but Tom Hamer came in midweek, looked pretty good, so not really too worried about that one. So yeah, I think Wickens, based on the opponents, based on Lincoln kind of being pretty solid, looks to be a good pick.
Yeah, just looking there, his total saves, he's only had to make 5 saves all in the first 2 games. So that bodes well, being in front of a strong defence, as well as you mentioned, in a poor attacking output for the 2 opponents they've got coming up. So for the League One defender pick, I've gone for Jack Fitzwater of Exeter. He had a great 15 points total last week, involving in a goal and an assist. But importantly, Fitzwater scored 7 points on the opening week from 14 clearances, 3 blocks and 3 tackles. And there was no clean sheet there. I quite like finding defenders that aren't over-reliant on clean sheets and goal actions, so you can sort of take some insurance of their defensive actions alone. However, I do have an eye on clean sheets, as Exeter's 2 opponents being Mansfield and Wickham. I just see this being more favourable compared to the rest of the league fixtures this week with the double game week. It's quite a nice pairing to go there, so I'm just hoping for a lot of defensive actions and hopefully the clean sheets here as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there on talking about where defender points are coming from. Sorry, I think especially early on the first 2 weeks, you kind of look at where all the high scoring defenders are, and the majority of them have scored a goal, which isn't going to happen most weeks. So yeah, trying to find out if they can back it up with their actions and stuff is a very good angle to look for defenders. Into midfield then, and I have this whole write-up in front of me about Idris El Mazouni for Leyton Orient, who played his first game of the season last week, but I don't think he's actually going to be my pick because I've just swapped him out of my team. But briefly, if you are interested, 5 interceptions last week, and last time he was in League One with Orient, he had 1.22 interceptions a game, so very, very solid midfield option, tidy on the ball. I just worry if he can get the points going the other way as well. They have Stockport and Argyle, so the interceptions against Stockport and Argyle are decent, so there's definitely a chance there for El Mazouni. But I'm actually going for George Saville for Luton. A bit similar kind of reasons in terms of like the interception numbers here look like we have potential in a double game week. Their opponents, Bradford and Wigan, have given away 39 interceptions so far. That's for all positions, only midfielders are getting the points, but still it shows that they're giving the ball away. There's chance for these interceptions, and And as that ranks in the game week, that's pretty much the best or second best combination of teams that Luton could have. So straight away, I think that's a good sign for what we have. George Savile himself is a solid operator. Last year, really good assist interceptions for Millwall. Already this year, he's at 1.72 per 90. He came off in the first game, played the full 90 in the second game. I expect him to be playing the full 90 here in both games as well. He also has an impact going the other way as well, which is what's swaying me to him. 1.72 key passes per 90, 0.57 assists. He grabbed an assist last week, and it's that impact going the other way that I think is what has made me put him in my team over El Mizuni for now.
Yeah, perfect. It'd be interesting to see if those attacking stats can stay there. They certainly weren't as reliable for Millwall last year, but there was a complete different setup in a different league. So interesting how that one goes. Looking to the League One forward pick. So with such a short data pool, I want to see which forwards were the front runners. Not so much who's the top goal scorers are, but who's underachieving their XG, who's having the most shots on target per 90, and who's having the most touches in the box to try and find a pattern. And I'm sorry, there's no real surprise here. It's Alfie May. He has 0.77 XG per 90 so far, averaging 2.1 shots on target per 90, just from 3.2 total shots. The first game coming up is Blackpool, who've leaked 7 goals in the first 2 games against sides that don't pose the same threat as Huddersfield, and then Doncaster, who have started the league very strong, but have been on the good end of some defensive fortune. And if you don't believe me, check out their highlights against Exeter in the opening day. It was some real scrambles there that they got away from. So I'm going for Alfie May for this week, and I believe a lot of people will be as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's very, very highly picked, but yeah, for good reason. I feel like he will be up there throughout the whole season. Yeah, I would say yeah, Doncaster, even Blackpool, they conceded a lot of goals. Neither team's giving away too many shots, but the fact is that every time someone shoots against them, it seems to just go in. So certainly, if May's going to take shots, and they're having keeper issues, then I think that's a good way to go for that. And do you want to take us away with League Two then?
Yeah, so this is someone who's not having, especially a team that's not having keeper issues. And I'm going to go for Craig McIlvery. Short and sweet, he has made the least amount of saves per 90 in the league, being 0.5 per 90. His goals prevented are 0.1, so the saves he has made have come from really low quality chances from the opposition. And of course, they are yet to concede a goal this season. They played Cheltenham, who are yet to score in the league, and then Crawley, who have scored just once against Newport so far.
Yeah, in fact, under Warren, if you include the 3 or 4 games from last season, MK Dons are yet to concede a goal, which is just absolutely crazy. Into defence, I think for similar reasons, Sanders looks like a big selection this week. I'm actually looking at Shea Dunkley though for Chesterfield. He missed a lot of last season, but he looks back to his best. 17 clearances last weekend, on his way to a 12-point haul, 11 points in week 1 as well. His per 90 stats have him at 12.5 clearances a game, 2 tackles and a block, which is at least 4 bonus points overall. Chesterfield also yet to concede a goal, and they face a Bristol Rovers side who look like they're struggling to shake off that losing mentality that they came down with. They do take quite a few shots, and they do have on paper a good team, but it's just not coming to fruition really. So I think right now I'm happy enough to go against them. The other opponent, Gillingham, are a very shot light team. They don't take too many chances. Well, they don't take too many shots, so they do take their chances, but that could be quite a physical game, and I'd back a defence that has McFadden and Shea Dunkley to hold them off. So yeah, Dunkley for me is the one who stands out in League Two.
Yeah, nice. And for the League Two midfielder pick, I've got a new name for me personally. Pod favourite formula for midfielders is a player who plays in a true midfield 2, and that's the setup that currently used by Colchester. And the player that I'm going to go for is Ben Perry. Perry has 7 interceptions in 2 games already. He may lack in creativity and goal scoring threat, but his dual winning is the best in the league, winning 11.9 per 90 as well. I want to ideally, I'd want someone that has some sort of attacking threat. He's yet to have one shot in the league so far, and I'd want someone that has a higher expected assist over 0.03. But for now, I can look past that with Perry being so dominant defensively, and I'm just going to keep an eye on him over these 2 weeks to see if we can see some attacking output, as he might become quite a regular.
Yeah, very nice, very nice. And I will finish us off then with the League Two forward. The person who's caught my eye, similar kind of angle to your League One forward, where I'm kind of looking and seeing like maybe who's underperforming, who's ready to take off the mark, ready to get off the mark, sorry. And Josh March for Crew Alexandra, who have landed on here. He's already got 3 assists to his name, but he's also taken 6 shots in 2 games with 2 on target. Hasn't scored yet, but I feel like the goal is going to come. Crew look very good. He's leading the line really well. He's playing good minutes. The only issues I get, the only concerns I have are they do have good players waiting in the wings in Lewis Moult and Emery Tesgel, who also got off the mark in the week, but he's been coming on a bit more out wide, so actually less concerned about that than I thought I would be. And yeah, you've got someone here who is playing in a team who are taking lots of shots, is taking shots himself, is just yet to score, but also does have the creative outlet too. He had 9 goals for a Harrogate side last year who weren't very, didn't have too much attacking intent in them. So he certainly does have goals in him. It's just whether or not he can get off the mark here. I think their games are quite favourable this week for him to do that.
Yeah, and like we've mentioned before, if there's any time to get behind Crew, and certainly one of their dangerous players, it's at the start of the season. So definitely nice to get in there early.
Now it's time for our sub-point pick. As always, myself and Ian will pick a player who's been selected by 0.1% of players or less going into the game week, so at time of recording. Ian, who have you landed on this week?
So I've gone for Ronan Curtis for Port Vale. It's a real gamble, this one. He plays up front. He's a midfielder on EFL Fantasy. His minutes are so erratic for Port Vale. However, the stats from the first 2 games, bearing in mind he only came on in the second half against Rotherham for the first game, are pretty bonkers. He's averaging 5.9 shots per 90. Expected goals of 0.4 per 90. His chance creation as well. He's creating 5.16 chances per 90. Just on the actual fantasy points wise, in his 45 minutes, okay, got 2 points from 3 key passes. But then in the second game against Cardiff, played 77 minutes, 4 key passes, 1 shot on target. When he gets the ball, he's very direct. Whether that comes from creating chances or scoring, I say it's a gamble because they did rest him in the EFL Cup against Blackpool, so I feel like he's lined up to play in the first game. I'm a bit worried of what the tactic and the strategy is going to be for the second game, but just an exciting player who really can burst in points from what we're seeing so far. So yeah, I'm going for Ronan Curtis. How about you?
I was going for Ronan Curtis as well. I actually changed it about half an hour before recording the podcast.
That's funny because I changed it half an hour before going to the podcast as well. So I'm really interested who you changed to.
Very nice. Yeah, a lot to like about Curtis. But yeah, I think the downsides of the minutes, and also I was a bit wary of that Stevenage game in game 2. Just they're very stubborn at the back. Is the only kind of things that swayed me away from it. So instead, I have gone for, and this does make my League Two forward pick a little bit redundant. Unfortunately, I'm instead going for Callum Agius from Crew Alexandra. He's basically playing left wing for Crew this year. He's looking to have a bit of a breakout year against Salford, 2 shots on target, 89 minutes played, 4 points, and then against Accrington, got off the mark with a goal, 8-point return. He is a forward. It's kind of just go against what I often like, which is, if I want a forward, but I'm getting a winger. I usually want a striker here, but it's fine. I'm taking it because, like I kind of said under the March pick, like March is kind of leading the line, but he's almost in that like target man, setting up player role as well as shooting himself. And I think the attention on him allows the wingers here for Crew and the attacking midfielders to get in behind or get onto layoffs and have shots themselves. And Adjus has had 6 shots in those 2 games, so it's the same as March. His stats actually, apart from the lack of assists, are literally identical to Josh March's, and I can get Adjus as a 0.1 pick instead. So that's kind of the trade-off I've done. The other reason with the Curtis one is I decided to change my midfield, and I kind of had to take Curtis out to do that. So I decided that March for Adjus was an easy swap to do, given I thought their stats looked pretty similar, and I was already a fan of one. I'm a fan of the other, just playing in a slightly different position. I'm hoping there's a bit more creativity as well to come from Callum this week. Crawley and Fleetwood, I think, is a really good pair of games, because Crawley at home, Crawley looks so suspect defensively. I think there's going to be chances here for Crew. Fleetwood away, Fleetwood look really solid, but they are giving off a lot of shots. So, and Crew themselves take a lot of shots. So, I actually don't think that game is as bad as maybe the fixture on paper looks when you actually look at the shot numbers and all the underlying data for that one. So yeah, Callum Adjus for me. So, do you want to run me through how your starting 7 is looking this week?
Yeah, sure. So I've gone for a 2-3-1 formation with McGilvery in goal, Fitzwater and Mads Anderson at the back. Ronan Curtis being my 0.1 pick in midfield with Ben Perry and Luca Connell, and then Alfie May up front.
Very nice. I also have McGillivray in goal as well. And my back 2 is Shea Dunkley and Cole Piergianni for Stevenage. Midfield 3, I also have Luca Connell this week. I think he's a really, really good shout. George Saville, as mentioned earlier. And then I also am sticking with Jay's Caviar from last week for Grimsby, getting my striker pick from midfield, I think. I just couldn't take him out. And then up front is my 0.1 pick, Callum Aegis. And that then brings us on to the final part of the show, which is our teams to win. Last week, I managed to get a decent points return, 13 points, but Grimsby didn't win, so my bet was let down. And Ian, I think you had a similar fate.
Wigan didn't win, so my bet was let down as well.
So this week, as it's double game week, I mean, the focus really is on the points and the teams, but it's the first game of the game week that is going to count towards our bet. So who are your 2 teams this week?
So first up, I've obviously gone for Huddersfield Town. They played Blackpool away from home in the first game and then Doncaster at home in the second. As mentioned, basically with Alfie May, there's goals in here. They might not quite look favourable for the clean sheet points, but if I can get the 2+ goals and the win, I'll be more than happy with that. And the second team I've gone for isn't a risk, but it feels like a risk to me. It's MK Dons. I've gone for 2 of the big hitters from both of the leagues. Like we said, their clean sheet numbers and defensive records are immaculate. However, they're not exactly free-flowing going forward. However, playing Cheltenham at home and Crawley away are favourable as well, so I just couldn't pass either of those up. And my £5 bet returns £19.60.
Yep, very nice. For myself, I also have MK Dons in basically the same reasons you said there. I just think they're much better than the opponents they're playing this week. They've already started quite well. They look very solid at the back, and yeah, I think Callum Patterson for them as well is a really good addition to get the ball into the back of the net. The other team I've gone for is Stevenage. They're at home to Northampton. I think Northampton I just don't rate Northampton at all. So I think Stevenage can do the business there. They're away to Port Vale. I think that's a trickier game, but I think Port Vale are better than their results have been, but the results haven't come yet. So I think while Stevenage look good, I'm going to take them in this double. I was kind of like eyeing similar to you, like it's a double game week. I almost want to take a big hitter for this, but Stevenage's fixtures are just kind of the ones I've landed on. So yeah, MK Dons and Stevenage double, and as it's both their home games counting, the double only returns £13.29. Pretty low, but
it's points. It's points over prizes here, though.
Exactly. That's what we're playing for this week. And that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you all for listening. Do follow us on the socials. We're on X at FBBD Pod. We're on Bluesky at Football Breakdown. If any updates to our teams, we will update you guys there. Do come get involved in the conversations. As always, and as always, enjoy the football this week, and good luck to everyone. Thank you, Iain,
Thank you, Matthew.
and take it easy.